Welcome to a new edition of the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino. On this episode, we talk with relentless dreamer and entrepreneur Alex Minicucci. Starting from humble beginnings, dropping out of college at 18 to start his first business, he defines what it means to be relentless. With a track record of successful starts and exits and a solid 8-figure net worth, he is now focused on giving back and helping other entrepreneurs build towards their own successful exits. With a thirst for adventure and relentless spirit, Alex is a professional problem solver and eternal optimist. Enjoy this interview.
Oh, I love Kansas City. Good food out there.
Oh, yeah. Yes, we do. Well, and the football team's not that bad, I guess.
I am near San Francisco, so most of us here are 49ers fans. I'm actually the oddball that was a New England fan. I was a big Brady fan, and so nobody liked me because I was a New England fan. But yeah, Kansas City is gonna. I'm actually rooting for Kansas City this year because I'm gonna be the unpopular one for sure.
Okay, there you go. Well, and we're kind of entering that Patriot zone because we're getting into dynasty realm. So I think and with Taylor Swift, I think it's easy to dislike it now. We'll be kind of the villain.
Yeah. There you go, man. That's a lot of Super Bowl visits in what, 4 or 5 years? That's pretty good.
Wild. Yeah,
it is wild. Yeah, I got to guest judge a few years ago. I donated some technology to a company called Operation Barbecue Relief, which I don't know if you heard of it, but it's like a first responder team for people that are displaced from their homes from natural disasters. So they get a whole bunch of professional barbecuers to go to an area and help feed people that are like during floods or storms or things like that. And because I donated some tech, they made me an honorary guest judge of the American Royal Barbecue Competition you guys have out there.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Oh, that was fun, man. That was like a California guy's dream out there to go out there and eat barbecue for 3 days.
Well, we're so used to it. Those things happen so often, we're just used to it. It's a part of our culture.
Oh, man. Yep. Yeah, it was fun.
That's good. Well, man, you've got a lot going on in your life, and I'd like to start our conversation with what we went through with COVID, surviving that pandemic, coming out of it, where we're at right now. How did you do? How did you get through it? How did it change you?
Well, from a business standpoint, are you doing business specifically or business and personal?
I think both. I think the Venn diagram kind of bleeds into itself.
Sure. I'd always, from a professional side, I've always had an office. It was my opportunity to shift gears from husband and dad mode to business mode. And that was probably the hardest thing for me, was no longer having a kind of physical transformation, that 10-minute, we're lucky here where I live, a 10-minute drive to have a cup of coffee, get your mind right, walk down the hall, sit at your office and say, all right, now we're going to go crush it today. And then the 10-minute drive to change back to husband and dad mode and mellow out, be a little more thoughtful and get out of business mode. The language, the intensity, everything has always been different for me. So that was hard. I'm fortunate where I have a dedicated room in my house as an office, and so that helped me continue to create that separation. I'm a big fan of time management and focus. I see a lot of people, my staff, my partners, people I work with really struggle with keeping themselves focused and managing their time when they're in a home environment, because you don't have the same accountability to start at a certain time or break at certain intervals or a pace you see other people working at. So I think that's been a real struggle for a lot of people. And as a guy that's been self-employed my entire life, I've got pretty good personal disciplines to keep myself on track, and I even struggle with it. So finding things, what we did as a team, I had an office with about 45 employees. When COVID came around, we handed everybody a laptop and said, go home, get on a laptop tomorrow morning, we'll see what's happening. The hardest part about COVID was not knowing the extent to which it would be disrupted. We didn't know if this was going to be a couple of weeks, and it ended up being a couple of years. So it was calling a lot of audibles, which was tough. So putting some disciplines in place that were immediate and things that could keep the continuity of operations going was really important. So we have a lot of what we call very short stand-up meetings, 5-10 minutes, forces everybody to get on their Zoom. Everybody's got to comb their hair, put on a clean shirt, Because we saw a lot of people working while they were sitting on their bed or sitting on their couch, and we have always felt that people can hear whether you're moving around, they can hear your energy as you're interacting with your customers. They can tell whether you're low energy or not. So we just get everybody up, get everybody moving, and make sure that they felt connected and inspired to be part of the rest of the company. So a lot of small, very short, very deliberate stand-up meetings to get our team engaged, our team focused, and set objectives for the day or the week also helped. From a macro business standpoint, we had just started our venture studio where we work with early stage software companies to go to market. We really kind of formed it at the end of 2018, developed our first set of portfolio companies in 2019, and then went right on to into COVID into our go-to-market strategy. Basically came to a grinding halt. So at that point, it was, we've got a lot of people, resources, team plans. We were unable to generate revenue. So we said, well, what do we do to keep creating value? And ideally to be opportunistic in the thinking of when this does go away, and we didn't know for sure that it would, but we were pretty confident eventually this would subside. How can we be well positioned to capitalize on that? So we actually used a lot of the COVID period to work internally on our projects, improve the quality of our products, improve the quality of our operations for our go-to-market strategies. We built a couple companies, projects that we had always wanted to launch. So we really used the time in a very different way to develop internally, since we knew we couldn't go outbound and sell to our small business market that we had normally planned. So we made a pivot. And I have one of my favorite quotes, and I wish I knew who said it, but said, "Don't let your business plan be your epitaph." So we had a really strong plan to go to market. We hit this major obstacle, this brick wall, changed our focus completely to building more assets. Then when the market started opening back up, we went from 5 companies to 12 companies in our portfolio during COVID. So we had more to go to market when the market did open back up. So it was a pretty significant and crazy time, but we managed to get through it.
So if I put you in front of a bunch of third graders at Career Day, and one of the kids asked you, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer that child?
I help people that are trying to start or build software companies be more successful. I'm basically a partner. And there are a lot of ways for early stage software companies to get help. Sometimes it's just asking people for money. Sometimes they do it all by themselves. I'm kind of a middle ground where I will help with money, but more importantly, I help with my experience and my team to help those software companies go down the path that they may not be familiar with. And since I've done it, I can be kind of a mentor, a partner, an investor, and support team all kind of rolled into one. So I've got kind of a unique position in how I help software companies go to market.
So what did you want to be when you were in the third grade?
What did I want? I wanted to be a businessman. My mom actually found one of the old drawings, and there's a drawing of me in a limo with a cell phone to my head. I think I was 9 when I drew it. And it just says, "Someday I want to be a businessman." It ironically didn't talk about what business I was in. So I was not particularly passionate about any particular type of business. Just wanted to be in business. I like the idea of doing deals and being in business. So apparently I've always wanted to just be in business.
Right on. So talk to me a little bit about, growing up and how these seeds got into you that really developed into this business acumen that you have now.
Well, I've seen both sides of the world from people that have had long-term careers and people that were very entrepreneurial, and it's a very different lifestyle. And I think one of the common fallacies is that there's security in the career. And, you go to college, you get your job, you work your way up the ladder, you retire at 65, you get your 401k or pension or whatever, and then you travel for as long as you can, then you die. And a lot of people feel like there's safety and security in that. But I think COVID and other macroeconomic challenges have proven that there isn't as much security in that scenario as everybody thought was there. And I had some family friends at a young age that had gone that path and really sacrificed their own sense of adventure and things they wanted to do for the security, and then got sabotaged and realized the security wasn't there. And then on the other side of it, I saw some people that were very adventurous and loved trying new things, loved swinging for the fences, taking advantage of opportunities. And while that's exciting, it's also volatile because that's the quickest way to go broke is to try to invent your own business or be entrepreneurial. So it's inherently stressful and volatile. So I learned early on that I liked the uncertain nature of being an entrepreneur. I like the butterflies in my belly of trying something new. I love the adventure of the new paths that I get to go down that are uncertain. So for me, it was more of a lifestyle choice than it was just a money thing. Is I loved that, and I saw some people that lived that way. I liked watching the way they lived and their inherent curiosity and adventure in the way they were entrepreneurial, and so that's kind of guided my desire to live that same way. I tell people no 2 days of my life are the same. And for some people, that's terrifying. And for others, it's exciting. And I love every minute of it. So I've been fortunate to go down this path.
So who's been a hero for you in your life?
Well, I would say both my father and my grandfather for different reasons. My father is a good example of more of the stability. He did the same thing for a lot of years, lived modestly, didn't take a lot of chances, and as a result was kind of a stalwart for the family. He was a reliable guy that the whole family knew they could count on, and he gave up a lot of his own personal ambitions and adventure and things to be a reliable resource for the family. My grandfather, who was a great resource for everyone, but he was willing to swing for the fences a little more, and he was more entrepreneurial, willing to take chances, willing to do deals, and had that kind of gleam in his eye of that constant curiosity. And ironically, lived to be 2 months shy of 100 years old, and was still driving, was still meeting every day with his buddies at the coffee shop, like loved life, loved people. And I think that was hand in glove with the entrepreneurial passion. So for two very different reasons, I respect my father for his devotion to his family and his sacrifice to be that reliable resource, which I think is critical for kids growing up. And my grandfather for willing to take chances and swing for the fences. So I learned something from each of them.
So if you can meet anybody alive on the planet right now that you find inspirational, who would you love to meet and talk to?
Anybody on the planet I think is inspirational. Yeah, I know it's going to sound ridiculous, but Elon Musk is at the top of my list simply because I'd like to get to know more that you don't see on camera or on his tweets or things like that, and get to know what he's like on a personal level. I think that'd be interesting. I think he's been willing to take risks, and you always wonder if you got to where you were worth X number of billion, how eccentric would you be? And so I think he's kind of interesting. Someone else I've always really liked is Schwarzenegger, for his story on his pursuits of excellence in his varying parts of his adventure, his life, and his reasonable nature and what seemed to be a lot of thoughtfulness and care for other people. So there's a couple there that I would be really interested in meeting.
So what is that motivation for you every day? To get up, to do the good work, to evolve as a person? What is that for you?
Well, I've got a couple motivations. One is when I was 13, I had a very strong premonition that I was going to die at 26. And I can't tell you exactly what it was or where it came from, but I believed it. And it inspired me to live an entire lifetime by the time I was 26. I ran hard. I slept 2 hours a night. I got married. I had kids. I had built and sold a handful of businesses. I had made a few million already. I went at this life thing pretty hard. And then I didn't die at 26. So Go figure. So I had that intensity and that work ethic, and really loved the pace at which I was consuming information and meeting people and evolving through that kind of wisdom curve. And I loved all of it, and have kept up a lot of that pace since. I also, as you mentioned earlier about kind of lessons learned and things, always lived with a certain amount of intensity. That's been a big motivator for me. I think living with gratitude is very important. There are a lot of people that don't have long lives, that don't have healthy lives, that don't have the fortunate things that I've been blessed with. So I think the first way you honor whatever opportunities you have is by using those and instead of wasting those. So I get up every day. I'm lucky. I'm healthy. I have a great part of the world. I've got a great family and support system. So I honor my blessings by getting up and working hard every day. So that's kind of a mindset of gratitude and something else that drives me.
So of all of the things that you've done and accomplished and overcome, what are you the proudest of?
When I was 26 years old, I became a full-time single dad. My daughters were 1 and 3. My ex-wife got into drug use, and just one day said, "Hey, I'm going to run to the store," and never came home. And then it was 5-6 years later, she kind of came back into the kids' lives. She struggled with drug abuse and never really got things together, and so kind of in and out of the kids' lives, and she still struggles today in various degrees. So here I was, a young guy with 2 little kids, 1 and 3, and I really devoted myself to them and trying to be a good dad. So in all the ways I could, I made my best efforts. I've got a long list of things I did wrong, but I was there. I went to all the kids' school events. I went to all the kids' athletic events. We traveled the country together. My kids went with me to Kansas City to the American Royal Barbecue Competition. They've been to Manhattan. They've been to Dubai with me. We went to Africa for a month. So I really devoted myself to giving time and engagement and energy to my kids. And I'm proud of that most because I think a lot of people, the money and business all should be a means to provide the time and resources to invest in your family. But I think a lot of people miss that point, and they work, and then the family's grown, and they're gone, and it's hard to do anything with them. So I made that a point and actually executed on it. So I'm proud of the time I invested in my kids when they were growing up.
Well said. So at the end of the day, everyone has a perception of you. There's different lives, family, friends, business associates, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I think I embody the jack of all trades expression pretty well. Like I've got a pretty versatile skill set. I love people, and I love to try to engage people and understand people, hear their stories, learn from them, and at the same time, if I can, because of my experience and background, be a little bit of a resource for them. So I don't know. I guess I would like to see myself as I continue to evolve, kind of a mentor, philosopher type figure where I can be a resource for my community and my family, and as they say, rising tide raises all ships. If I can be someone that's strong enough and experienced enough to help the people around me, then that gives me satisfaction from my journey, as well as it helps me reconcile my mistakes. I've screwed up a lot over the years, and anytime I can take a screw up of mine and mentor somebody to try to avoid that screw up, it makes me feel a little less bad about the mistakes I make. So I really try to be that person for the people around me. So that's, I don't know, I guess that would be how I see myself as a kind of a mentor figure.
So Alex, if anyone out there wants to reach out, learn more about you, anything about your world, where's the best place to go?
My website is berelentless.com, berelentless.com. My email address is alex, ALEX, at berelentless.com. Or I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. So if anybody wanted to find me on LinkedIn and connect with me, I'm usually pretty good about replying on there. So those are the best ways to get me.
Alex, this has been great. Thank you for your story, man, and great Kansas City stories. I appreciate your time today.
Yeah, man, it was a pleasure meeting you and chatting with you, and thanks for taking the time. And I love your podcast. Appreciate what you do to share all these stories out there. So thanks for what you do.
Thanks for tuning in to another famous interview with Joe Dimino, where we cover the world of art, literature, business, spirituality, music, and more from around the globe. Our esteemed theme music was composed and produced by the great E.E. Pointer of Kansas City's River Cow Orchestra. If you want to hear more interviews, visit the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino channel on YouTube. You can also find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Thanks again for listening, and until next time.